AI told me exactly what to do with my life, and I still didn't do it. Why does AI feel so motivating, but leave you stuck in the same place? ChatGPT manifested the life I said I wanted, so why didn't I change? There's something almost magical about the way AI speaks your desires back to you. You ask ChatGPT, design my dream routine, script my ideal future, help me manifest success, and within seconds you're staring at a perfectly organized, deeply affirming life plan. Everything sounds right. Morning rituals, career milestones, self-care blocks, confidence affirmations, clarity, direction, momentum. At least, it feels like momentum. But here's the catch no one's talking about. That feeling of progress is often just that, a feeling, not a result. This is what we call the illusion of alignment. When an AI-generated script mirrors what you think you want so convincingly, it tricks your brain into believing you've already made progress. But nothing has changed. You're still sitting still. The hard things are still waiting. You're still scrolling. And what makes it even more deceptive is that AI does such a good job. It reflects back your values, it says all the right things, it organizes your chaos, it affirms your vision. So, why aren't you moving? That's the question we're answering in part 1. Let's start with what AI actually does and what it doesn't. AI is trained to reflect language, structure ideas, and generate output based on patterns. If you ask it, give me a 30-day routine for success, it will build it beautifully. If you ask, what are the daily habits of a confident, disciplined person, you'll get clarity, fast. It gives you structure without resistance. That's the first reason AI manifestation feels powerful. It removes friction. You don't have to wrestle with insecurity or confusion. You don't have to sit in silence and ask yourself tough questions. AI gives you answers, instantly, cleanly, painlessly. But here's the twist. Change doesn't happen in clarity. It happens in conflict. Growth comes from wrestling with your old identity, from showing up even when your plan isn't perfect, from doing the opposite of what your comfort zone wants. And AI can't make you do any of that. This is what psychologists are calling the self-help simulation effect, a growing trend where users get hooked on tools that simulate transformation without requiring action. In 2025, it's more widespread than ever. People aren't just watching productivity content anymore. They're scripting their future with AI, designing their goals, affirming their identity, and feeling like they're changing. But the real question is, what are you actually doing when no one's watching? Because here's what AI can't do. It can't sit with you at 6 a.m. when you're exhausted but promised yourself a workout. It can't hold your hand when your confidence collapses before a meeting. It can't feel resistance. It can't remind you who you said you were when it's day 17 and motivation's gone. That's your work. And it's not glamorous, it's not clean, it's not aesthetic, it's quiet, messy, often invisible, but it's real. And this leads to the second truth. Manifestation isn't about imagining harder, it's about acting differently. You can script your dream life 100 times, but if you never show up as the version of you that script describes, you're just dressing up your avoidance in a more inspiring outfit. AI doesn't challenge your behavior. It doesn't know when you're hiding. It doesn't call you out on the habit of planning to escape doing. It gives you answers, but it can't force reflection. This is why AI feels empowering at first and eventually disappointing. Because at some point you realize you're holding all the wisdom but none of the muscle. The distance between clarity and embodiment can't be crossed by another prompt. So how do you turn that feeling of possibility into real momentum? We'll go deeper in the next parts, but for now, here's where to begin. Start replacing vision with verification. It's easy to say, I want to be disciplined, but show me your calendar. It's easy to say, I want clarity, but show me how many distractions you're cutting. It's easy to say, I'm becoming the best version of me. But what did that version do today? Specifically, despite resistance. That's where transformation begins. Not in output, but in evidence. So if you've been caught in the AI manifestation loop, here's your permission to pause. Stop asking for a better script. Start proving the one you already wrote. In part 2, we'll dive into the neuroscience behind this pattern, why your brain rewards clarity even if no progress is happening, and how to rewire it for action. If this feels like the hard truth you needed, stick around. Think Fresh Daily isn't here to hype you up. We're here to help you build. Let's talk about your brain. More specifically, let's talk about why it rewards you for planning, imagining, and scripting your goals, but often resists taking action. Because the truth is, when you ask AI to map your dream life, and it gives you a clear, exciting roadmap, your brain treats that clarity as if you've already achieved something. It's not your fault. It's how the brain is wired. Here's what happens behind the scenes. Every time you visualize your future, write down your goals, or receive an AI-generated life plan that reflects who you want to become, your brain releases a powerful chemical, dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter associated with anticipation and reward. It's not released because you've succeeded. Dopamine is released because your brain thinks you're on the path to success. It creates a high that feels like momentum, like progress. But that progress is chemical, not behavioral. You haven't taken action yet. You haven't moved. But your brain is already celebrating. And this is where things get dangerous. Because over time, you begin to associate the feeling of planning with the result of achieving. You get addicted to clarity, to vision, to scripting. You don't chase results. You chase that temporary dopamine rush that comes from imagining results. And that's exactly why AI-generated manifestation content is exploding right now. People feel seen, heard, directed. They feel like they're building something when they're actually consuming a simulation of progress. This is what researchers now call the pre-reward loop. It's when you stay stuck in the mental rehearsal of growth instead of the practice of growth. Let's visualize it. You open ChatGPT. You type, "Describe the version of me who's confident, healthy, and financially free." It responds with a powerful narrative. You feel energized, hopeful, motivated. Your brain says, "We're doing something." But your behavior says, "We're still sitting." And here's the real problem. If you chase that feeling too often, you dull your hunger for action. The more you reward yourself for clarity, the less pressure you feel to actually follow through. And because your brain is still receiving dopamine, it thinks, "We're good here. No need to change anything." That's how people get stuck for years. So what's the fix? It's not to stop using AI. It's not to stop visualizing or planning. The fix is to anchor dopamine to action, not imagination. You need to retrain your reward system to celebrate follow-through, not fantasy. To associate pleasure with doing hard things, not just dreaming about them. Here's how to start. 1. Interrupt the reward loop. The next time you feel that rush after an AI-generated plan or script, pause. Ask yourself, open quote, "What one physical action can I take right now to match this clarity?" Close quote. It could be tiny. Send one message, do one rep, clean one drawer, open one doc. It doesn't matter how small. It matters that you move. This breaks the loop. It tells your brain this new identity requires action, not just attention. Number 2. Track real wins, not mental ones. Start a simple evidence list. At the end of each day, write, open quote, "What did I actually do today that reflects my future identity?" Close quote. This is the opposite of a gratitude journal. This is a proof journal, because your brain needs reminders that you're not just dreaming, you're becoming. Delay mental rewards. If you're tempted to script, plan, or prompt your way to motivation, make it a reward after action. Example, I'll do 15 minutes of writing, then ask ChatGPT for a mindset quote. I'll complete this workout, then visualize tomorrow's version of me. That way, clarity becomes a celebration, not a substitute. 4. Lower the entry cost. Your brain resists action when it feels threatened. When it sees 60-minute routines, it panics, so it delays, avoids, loops, so shrink the win. Instead of thinking, "I have to follow the whole plan," think, "What's the 2-minute version I can do now?" 1 sentence instead of a full journal. 10 air squats instead of a full workout. 1 sip of water instead of a perfect routine. That's how you build momentum over performance. 5. Use AI differently. AI is not the enemy, it's the enhancer. But only if you stop asking it for escape and start using it for execution. Change your prompts from, open quote, "Give me a perfect 30-day plan," to "What's the first thing I can do in the next 5 minutes to align with this vision?" Close quote. Use AI to support action, not replace it. Let's zoom out. The reason AI manifestation feels so powerful is because it triggers your most primal emotional systems. It gives you vision without pain. It mirrors desire without resistance. It offers identity without risk. But growth doesn't happen there. Growth happens in the moment you act when it's inconvenient. When your brain says not now, and you say yes now. When the fantasy fades and the work begins. So here's your challenge for today. Don't just script a better version of you. Don't just imagine the breakthrough. Earn it with one tiny, uncomfortable, real act. In part 3, we'll dive into the emotional roots of resistance and why action feels so hard even when clarity is easy. Stick with Think Fresh Daily. The fantasy ends here. The real growth begins now. You've got the script, you've got the clarity, you've even got the vision board, the digital planner, and the perfect AI-generated daily routine. So why does it still feel impossible to begin? Why does something as simple as starting just one task, one habit, one email, feel heavier than it should? Welcome to resistance. Not external resistance, not lack of time or resources, but the internal kind, the kind that shows up when you're close to changing something important. In part 3, we're diving deep into the psychology of why we freeze, even when the path forward is clear. Because here's what AI can't see and what most people never say. Behind every life plan is an emotional block. Behind every just tell me what to do is a fear of what happens if you actually do it. AI doesn't feel fear, you do. It doesn't worry about failure, judgment, or losing control. It doesn't ask, what if I try and nothing changes? It doesn't carry the trauma of past attempts that didn't work out. But you do. And that's why clarity without emotional safety doesn't lead to action. Let's break it down. 1. Clarity isn't the antidote to fear. In mindset circles, we're often taught that the problem is confusion. If I just knew what to do, I'd do it. But the truth is, most people do know, or at least they know enough to begin. The real block isn't confusion. It's the fear of starting and still failing. It's the fear of outgrowing your current relationships. It's the fear of becoming someone you no longer recognize. Or worse, it's the fear that you'll finally succeed and life will still feel empty. These fears aren't logical, they're emotional, and no AI tool can resolve that for you. That's your inner work. That too. Perfection is a shield. Most AI-generated plans are pristine. They're optimized, structured, and visually satisfying, but they often become a shield from imperfection. We get addicted to the idea of doing it right from day one. So instead of starting messy, we keep refining the plan. Instead of building momentum, we keep revisiting the vision. This is what productivity psychologists call preparation paralysis. It's the illusion that you're not ready yet. But readiness doesn't precede action, it follows it. The real shift comes when you say, open quote, I'd rather begin poorly than keep planning perfectly, close quote. Emotional friction is mistaken for lack of motivation. You've felt it, that heavy, dragging feeling when it's time to follow through. Your body says no, your mind says maybe later, your heart says not yet. We label this as laziness, but it's not. It's emotional friction, caused by inner conflict between where you are and where you're trying to go. That friction shows up as procrastination, fatigue, overthinking, and no amount of planning removes it. Only action does. But not just any action, emotionally safe action. What does that mean? It means starting with things that don't trigger overwhelm. It means shrinking the action until your nervous system says, okay, we can handle that. It means approaching yourself with compassion, not pressure. 4. Start where your nervous system says yes. Forget go hard or go home. Try this instead. Go where the resistance is lightest. Because the goal isn't to fight yourself. It's to build trust with yourself. If a 60-minute routine is too much, try 5. If journaling is triggering, try a voice note. If showing up online scares you, write it privately first. Start small, safe, sustainable. Every time you follow through on something doable, you're telling your brain, open quote, I don't abandon myself anymore. I don't break my own word. I don't need perfection to move. Close quote. That's how trust is rebuilt. And trust is what unlocks consistency. 5. AI can give the plan, but only you can build the bridge. The gap between knowing and doing is always emotional. It's filled with the stories you've told yourself about who you are. It's filled with inherited beliefs about failure, success, and worth. It's filled with echoes of what didn't work before. And here's the truth. You can't think your way across that gap. You can only walk it. One shaky step at a time, with grace, with breath, with deep self-respect. That's what AI can't do for you. It can't carry your fear. It can't build your resilience. It can't hold space for your doubts. But you can. You can become the person who acts, even while afraid. You can become the person who stays, even when results are slow. You can become the person who gently replaces "not yet" with "let's go." That's emotional maturity. That's transformation. That's mindset in motion. So here's your challenge. Pick one action that feels emotionally safe, but still requires effort. Not the biggest task, not the perfect task. Just one thing that says, I'm not just planning anymore, I'm becoming. In part 4, we'll explore how to turn those small wins into a daily ritual, one that's resilient, human, and free from perfection traps. Follow Think Fresh Daily for grounded growth that meets you where you are and helps you rise. So far, you've uncovered the truth. The biggest gap in self-growth isn't between knowing and doing, it's between clarity and courage. You've learned how AI gives you a perfect blueprint, but can't move your body, shift your energy, or hold your hand through emotional friction. You now know that clarity without trust leads to freeze. Vision without action leads to loops. But now we shift gears from awareness into activation. This is where most people stop. They know what's wrong. They even know what they should be doing. But their system still pulls them back into comfort, distraction, and self-delay. In part 4, we break that cycle. This is where you begin building what we call your real-world ritual engine. A system that translates clarity into action, daily. One that works with your resistance instead of trying to overpower it. Let's start here. 1. Stop chasing the fantasy schedule. AI will always generate the clean version, the perfect version, the fully optimized, motivationally ideal life template. That's its job. But you live in a human body, one with sleep debt, emotional weight, hormones, doubts, meetings, kids, chronic stress, financial uncertainty. So if you keep holding yourself to the fantasy schedule, you will keep failing and blaming yourself for not matching the script. Let go of the fantasy. Your real-life system needs to account for emotional fluctuation, energy variability, unplanned interruptions, human error. So when building your daily ritual engine, start from a minimal viable day. Ask yourself, what does the simplest version of a win look like today, even if nothing goes to plan? That's your floor, your baseline. That's where consistency is born. 2. Build from the identity outward. We said this in part 1, and it's worth repeating. You don't manifest your dream life by visualizing harder. You manifest it by becoming the person who lives it. So when AI gives you a perfect morning routine, ask, open quote, would the version of me who actually does these things also check my phone first thing every morning? Close quote. If not, start there. Reverse engineer your ritual engine like this. Who am I becoming? What does that person prioritize first? What's the smallest way I can embody that today? For example, identity. I'm a grounded, calm leader. Morning anchor. 2 minutes of silence and breath before I open any device. That's the seed. You grow from there. 3. Systemize emotional safety. Most people build systems for productivity. They forget to build systems for resilience. But here's the truth. Your ability to stay consistent has less to do with motivation and more to do with how safe your nervous system feels. So create what we call anchor rituals, tiny repeated actions that help you return to your center when you're overwhelmed, anxious, or discouraged. Examples: a physical gesture, hand on chest, slow exhale, say I'm still here. A regrounding phrase, one small move is enough. A movement ritual, 10 slow steps outside barefoot. A choice ritual, right now I can either loop or move. When these rituals are practiced regularly, your nervous system learns action doesn't mean danger. It starts associating effort with safety. That's what breaks the freeze. 4. Use AI as a system enhancer, not a life designer. Let's be honest, AI is seductive because it feels like it knows you better than you know yourself. But it only reflects what you tell it. It has no intuition, no context, no emotional pattern recognition. It doesn't live your life. So instead of asking AI to design your lifestyle, start asking it to support what you've already committed to. For example, give me a 3-sentence mindset mantra to support the action I'm resisting today. What's a simple 10-minute warm-up for writing based on my real schedule? Help me celebrate one small win I made yesterday. I need to stay in motion. This is how AI becomes a tool for rhythm, not fantasy, for scaffolding, not story writing. 5. Measure action, not perfection. Want to know the biggest mindset shift for people who actually transform their lives? They track evidence, not aesthetics. They don't obsess over hitting the exact time, the exact format, the exact steps. They obsess over showing up, even for 3 minutes, even messily, even quietly. Here's how to implement this in your ritual engine. Create a simple daily momentum tracker with just 3 checkboxes. Did I anchor my identity this morning? Did I take one aligned action? Did I reset my focus when I slipped? That's it. You're not tracking volume, you're tracking alignment. And the compounding effect of that? It's staggering. Because when your system rewards identity plus action, it's emotional reset, you start rewiring yourself for self-trust. 6. Let discomfort be a sign, not a stop sign. Most people wait to act until they feel good, but here's the truth. Action creates the feeling, not the other way around. Discomfort means you're leaving your old story. Resistance means you're nearing a breakthrough. Fear means you're not looping anymore, you're leaning in. So when it feels heavy, ask, open quote, what's the smallest act of defiance I can do against this resistance? Close quote. Then do it, even badly, even awkwardly. You're not building perfection, you're building proof. In part 5, we'll go deeper into how to integrate all of this into your subconscious identity. So the system isn't just something you follow, but something you become. You've got the tools, you've got the truth. Now you're building your engine. Keep following Think Fresh daily. You're not chasing potential anymore, you're embodying it. One ritual, one breath, one bold step at a time. You've built your ritual engine. You understand how clarity and courage must converge. You've learned how to act in spite of fear and calibrate momentum with emotion. But growth becomes sustainable when it's not just a system you're following, it's the person you've already become. Part 5 is where we anchor that identity shift so deeply that your mindset and habits start reinforcing each other naturally. 1. Consistency builds identity, not the other way around. If you believe you're disciplined but never show up, the belief remains fiction. Consistency, not inspiration, solidifies who you are. Models in behavioral science call this identity feedback loops. Every time you take a small action, especially when it's hard, you prove to yourself, I am the kind of person who does this. Over time, your brain stops resisting because acting becomes part of your identity, not an exception. Number 2, the power of identity-driven anchors. We talked about rituals. Now let's talk about anchoring them in identity. What identity are you stepping into? A disciplined creator who writes every single morning. A calm presence who starts with breath, not panic. A thoughtful doer who takes one aligned action, even when no one is watching. Let your identity guide the structure, not the AI plan. So build anchors like morning identity pause, I am grounded, before phone. Micro action anchor, I do what I say I will, small habit. Reset anchor, I forgive setbacks and start over. Over time, these internal cues become the system, making consistency feel like your natural state. Proof 3. Reframing mistakes as identity proof. When identity is new, mistakes can feel devastating. You might think, I failed again, I'm not who I want to be. But mistakes are evidence you're pushing into new territory. They're like setbacks during a marathon, not reasons to quit. So here's the reframing. Slip on your ritual? That's proof you're trying something bigger. Miss a day? That's proof you were invested. Feel guilty? That's proof you genuinely care about becoming better. When mistakes arise, pause and say, open quote, okay, what did this show me? Close quote. Then reaffirm, open quote, I will keep going, because this is what being consistent feels like. Close quote. Hack 4, build closed feedback loops with micro wins. A feedback loop means you do something, observe what happened, learn, tweak, repeat. But for mindset, this must happen daily, in miniature. For example, action. You journal for 2 sentences at 7 a.m. Observe, you notice clarity and calm, slow down by 8 a.m. Learn, even short journaling impacts your mental state. Tweak, maybe expand to 3 sentences tomorrow. Each micro win cements identity. I notice myself growing. That builds momentum, not guilt. 5. Make AI serve identity, not replace it. By now, you've realized AI is a tool, not the leader of your life. Start asking AI to enhance your identity path. What affirmation would reinforce someone who shows up daily without judging themselves? What small ritual would support someone building self-trust, even when scared? What is a simple mindset check I can use when resistance hits? Use AI to craft supportive prompts, not to redesign your identity. Nalashbra 6, internalize growth beyond the screen. Here's where many mindset systems fail. Once you walk away from the app, the system stops working. But identity systems aren't tied to screens. Write identity affirmations on paper, not just a prompt. Practice anchor rituals without checking apps. Use phone time limits to avoid slipping into comparison loops. Your identity lives in your body, not your browser. 7. Trust emerges through repeated resets. When you begin slipping, don't see it as failure. See it as the signal to reset. The moment of reset matters more than the slip. Physicians call this recovery mode. What you do after deviation shapes your self-view more than the deviation itself. If you miss a ritual, reset instantly. Ground in internal cues. Do one aligned act before bed. Commit to trying again tomorrow. This shows your brain, I trust you, even when you stumble. Part 5, Summary. Sustainable growth isn't built on perfect plans, but on a rewired identity. One who moves, even when it's uncomfortable. One who resets, even when it's messy. One who measures alignment, not perfection. AI helps clarify, but your identity does the doing. In Part 6, we'll wrap everything together, help you craft a roadmap for integrating these principles into everyday life, and guide you toward long-term growth that feels intentional, human, and real. Stick with Think Fresh Daily. You're not just achieving change, you're becoming change. So here we are. You started this journey with a question most people never ask. Why does using AI to manifest your dream life feel so powerful, yet rarely lead to real change? Now, after everything we've uncovered, you're equipped with a truth that goes far deeper than any viral prompt, planner, or productivity script. You've learned this isn't about how advanced the AI is. It's about how alive you are in your own process. And if there's one message to carry forward from everything you've seen in this series, it's this. You are the algorithm that matters. Your identity, your actions, your ability to reset. That's what builds the future. Let's take a moment to bring everything home. You now know, clarity is not commitment. AI can give you a perfect plan, but clarity alone does nothing without the courage to act through resistance. Planning triggers dopamine, but action rewires your identity. We're wired to feel progress by scripting it, but the real progress begins where fantasy ends, when you step in, uncertain and messy, and move anyway. AI is a reflection, not a replacement. It mirrors your thoughts, but it can't carry your doubts, rewrite your patterns, or override your nervous system. That's your work. Small action beats big vision. Every time, every micro move builds evidence, and that evidence builds identity, and identity builds momentum. Discipline doesn't come from pressure, it comes from trust. When you stop punishing inconsistency and start celebrating realignment, you become unstoppable. So where do you go from here? You stop chasing the perfect plan. You stop outsourcing belief to a screen. You stop waiting for life to feel aligned. And you start asking, what can I do right now to reflect the person I want to become? What does one aligned choice look like? Today, not someday. How can I let discomfort guide me toward depth, not distraction? Because the future version of you isn't created through vision boards, affirmations, or AI prompts alone. They're created in the moments where you choose the harder thing, the quieter thing, the more human thing. They're born when you trade dopamine for discipline, perfection for presence, scripts for systems. They rise through repetition, not revelation. At Think Fresh Daily, we don't believe in shortcuts. We believe in grounded growth, rooted in truth, backed by action, and built from the inside out. So here's your next step. Not another prompt, not another template, not another productivity binge, just one decision, a real one. Do something today, small but aligned. Let that be your proof. Then tomorrow, do it again. And when you slip, as we all do, remember, you don't need to restart, you just need to return. Return to your center. Return to your breath. Return to your next right move. That's what builds self-trust. That's what breaks loops. That's what makes growth sustainable. If this video hit something real in you, don't leave that awareness on the table. Subscribe to Think Fresh Daily. This is where fantasy ends and real momentum begins. This is where you stop planning your future and start living like it already belongs to you. We'll keep showing up with honest guidance, no fluff, no filters, just the tools to help you return to your own power, again and again and again. Because the truth is, the future doesn't belong to the perfectly scripted, it belongs to the radically consistent. You ready? Let's build. Day by day, breath by breath. Follow Think Fresh daily, because transformation isn't something you download, it's something you earn.